Rising, Cleveland, and the rest of planet Earth. Welcome to 360 Info Network. I'm Vince Robinson, and I am joined with Hamptonio here today. We had scheduled, as you know, or may not know, Ashra Kwesi. Unfortunately, he could not be with us today. We will look forward to connecting with him at a future time. But in the meantime, the show must go on, and so we go. So we are calling this the Solstice edition, and there is a very good reason for that, which I will explain. But before I do that, my brother Hamptonio is with us this morning, and we're ready to talk. And we got some information and some thoughts and some ideas and possibly even some wisdom to give to you today. So welcome to the Solstice edition of 360 Info Network, my brother.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome. Yes, we're a little disappointed. We wanted our good dear brother to be a part of our Truth series this month, but you know those things happen. He had a personal emergency that he couldn't do it today. But again, you know we're still resonating off our good brother Browder from last week, who did a wonderful job. Wonderful job. You know, I really enjoyed the show, and I really appreciate the brother taking the time. And you know, this is like events like the, you know, I know we're usually sometimes maybe closer to the false beginning of the year. That's the best way I can say it, because it's not truly the beginning of the year, or you know, but we usually do sometime a little recap or think about some of the guests that we had over the course of the year. And you know, we appreciate folks coming out and delivering some information, and we really hope that you guys, you know, really get some out of the show. We know there's a lot of things going on TV, a lot of things out here in our neighborhoods and things like that have us going, and sometimes we don't get a chance to. I'm talking about as a collective people to listen to some things that you know are in line with what we need to be doing and positive, and also take us out of our little comfort zone, you know, as far as our area, our city is concerned. You know, we try to bring you some stuff that is going on in the motherland and maybe some other lands as well. That's something that you can use, some information that you can use, because really, I truly believe with all my heart that we have to expound, you know, our reaches further than, you know, continental America. We have to do it because I think that's going to be one of the necessary things in order for us to survive going through this new era that we are going through. If you know anything, I haven't heard anything, and probably mostly on social media, because mainstream is not going to talk about the things that are going on in the motherland that may involve us or that may help us somewhere down the future. So they don't want you know, African Americans to know exactly what's going on over in Africa, because it covers up what they're really doing in order to impede the progress that is going on in Africa. So they don't want you to get involved, you know, the African Americans here and some of the other people too, our European brothers and sisters. You know, they empathetic and sympathetic sometimes to what's going on, and they are knowledgeable sometimes of what's going on in you know, the motherland, you know, and to black people all through the diaspora. You know, some of the things that's been holding us back, but we try to bring you good information that you can use to keep you abreast of what's going on, because I think the motherland is our key. You know what I'm saying, my dear brother Vince?
Yeah, yes, and I want to expand on that point. First, I want to point out that we've gotten over 2,000 views of that program that we did last Saturday. I haven't checked the latest number, but when I looked like 5 or 6 days ago, I sent you a message that said that we were up to 1.8 thousand, and then I came the next day and it was 2.2. I have no idea what it is right now.
Yeah, last time I see it was like 2.4, so it's probably about 2.6 now, but go ahead.
2.6. But the point of it is that it wasn't just Cleveland, it's people around the world. Even while the program was in progress, we were getting views from other parts of the country and not just in Cleveland. So this is a global situation. But the second thing that I wanted to mention was that I was at Whole Foods yesterday, and I encountered a friend of mine that I have known over the years, and we had a really serious conversation standing in front of the bulk section. He told me that he had been involved in the ADOS movement. And so he knows who Ibrahim Traore is, and he's very well versed on the Suhail and all that other stuff.
Okay.
But I found it really interesting that he kept talking about how Africans disrespect us. I think that was the word that he used. And they characterize us as being lazy and all these other kinds of things. And so he kept talking about this disconnect between them and us. But you're saying that you are a proponent of us being descendants of Africans. So how could we be descendants of Africans and be disconnected at the same time? That just doesn't make sense to me. And so to know people like Quad David Whitaker, who is working in lockstep with Africans on the other side of the world, building things, connecting things. You know who PLO Lumumba is, and you celebrate him. You know who Madam Chiabori Kwao is, and you think that she's doing great things. And if you don't understand that we're one family, that we're connected, and we're all working towards a common goal, then what are you missing? You understand that Patrice Lumumba was murdered. You understand that Kwame Nkrumah was exiled. And you understand that those things happened because of the United States of America and the Central Ignorance Agency. So if you understand that, then how can you not understand that we are one family, that we have one goal, and that is the freedom and liberation of African people around the world? So it just boggled my mind, and it's no disrespect to the brother because he's very knowledgeable, but I'm just seeing that something about that whole argument doesn't make sense, because we have to work together and not think of us as being them and us. We know that there are Africans who are influenced negatively to come to America and look down their noses at us.
Right.
That's a reflection of their ignorance, and it should not be something that pushes us apart. Bro, we got brothers on the continent of Africa that are our fans over here because they understand who we are. They understand what we went through. They understand that our fight is a little bit different than ours, but we're both fighting against the same common denominator, and that is what the Europeans have done in terms of colonialization or colonization and Jim Crow here in America. So we're all up against the same opponent, if you want to characterize it as that. So, that led me to think about what I witnessed last night at Cleveland Public Theater. It's a program called Kwanzaa, Light of the Kinara, presented by Japo Cultural Arts Institute, and there is a Tanzanian group. They're dancers, drummers, all of that. And what we witnessed last night was just pure magic. It was an explanation of Kwanzaa. And it was not just talking about it, it was showing you through dance, through music. Reflecting on it this morning, I thought about the fact that you had drums playing almost the entire program. And what is the drum? When we look at the history of the drum is like our heartbeat. The drum is the thing that was used to communicate information and messages. The vibration that comes from the drum, the sound of the drum, sonically, it affects us spiritually. At the end of that program, everybody was energized. It was like, oh, wow, that was amazing. If you could have felt what we felt last night after witnessing what we witnessed these brothers and sisters on stage pouring their hearts out through motion. We had some of Cleveland's most talented people in that room last night. You had Hugh People Vocal Ensemble opening the program with a song that was done by Sweet Honey and the Rock called Wings. Breath, I'm sorry. It was called Breathe. It's called Breathe. And the way they did it, I mean, it was like Sweet Honey and the Rock was up in the balcony singing to the audience, but it was our people. When you saw the talent of people that were involved in that program, and here's my thing, we'll spend $200 to go downtown to watch the Cavaliers throw a ball through a hoop. Don't think anything of it. We don't think anything of it. We'll spend $100 for a ticket to see Jill Scott. We'll pay $1,000 to watch Beyonce in a stadium on a screen. And we can't spend $20 to see our own people do what we do. That's really sad, man. I can't. How else can I say it? Something about that whole situation is amiss. And it's something we need to do better. That's all I'm saying. We need to do better. We have to support each other. There were vendors there. We talk about cooperative economics, right? But then when we get an opportunity to exercise it, what do? We go to Walmart. We go to Amazon.
Yeah. Okay.
We got brothers and sisters in our own community that are importing things that they can share with us. And some of those things are imported from the continent of Africa, which means that somebody across the water benefited because they were able to ship their goods. And then somebody over here was able to make a profit because that's what business is, able to sustain themselves. In some cases, they're able to employ other people. This is how we work as a community. But then when we look at what happened at last night, we can blame everybody but ourselves. I'm thinking, back in the day when we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have answering machines and we didn't have social media, we would create an event and everybody would show up. We'd have hundreds of people. We would pack churches. We would do all kinds of things to bring ourselves together. I'm here to tell you that Kwanzaa is a celebration of who we are. It's an ingathering of people. It's based on the first fruits harvests that they had on the continent. And it was a time to celebrate ourselves, a time to eat and drink and be festive, which is what Karamu is all about, that we call Karamu. That's what that's all about. It was a time to recommit ourselves to our mission in life, which is uplifting each other. And last night, it was white folks celebrating us. Why weren't we there? And so, next week, we're going to have celebrations from the 26th through the 1st of January, and some of us who are conscious may show up, but we got a whole lot of folks who don't understand how important it is for us to celebrate each other, to celebrate ourselves, and to commit to living out those ideals that ensure our success. We have to be unified in order to see the change that we want to see. We can complain all day long about what ain't right. The question isn't what isn't right. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Everybody can do something. I'm thinking about the Cleveland Association of Black Storytellers, and I've been to a number of their events, and there's a story that is told sometimes, and it's about a fire that happened. And they decided that, well, maybe we can put this fire out. And there was a hummingbird. I know I'm butchering the story, but the point is that people were laughing at the hummingbird because it could only drop a few drops of water on the fire at a time. right? So it
Mm-hmm.
was seen as a futile effort, and they were making light of it. But the fact of the matter is, the hummingbird was doing what the hummingbird could do.
Mm-hmm.
And the point of it is that we all have to do what we can do, and that's where the whole idea of unity comes in. So, we have to lift each other up. This past weekend, Brother Hamptonio, was a rite of passage for myself, because at my age, and I know I'm not a spring chicken, even though I think of myself as being a young man,
Mm-hmm.
but I have people looking at me as an elder. And for a season, there was a little pushback because I wasn't ready to be an old man. But, being an elder and being old are two different things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think what I've kind of realized is that, I've been in this body for the number of years that I've been in this body, but this spirit has been around for a long time. And I'm embracing the fact that what comes along with that is wisdom that transcends generations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is just me going off, so I hope folks can understand and appreciate. But I was thinking about the term God, because we really struggle with it. We really do. And the fact of the matter is, God is a European word. It's not an African word. The Africans didn't even have a word for God, right? So, in essence, we're beings. Some say that we're divine beings having an earthly experience, but we're beings, and we have varying levels of consciousness. And some of us are aware of that consciousness that is connected to a greater consciousness that is responsible for everything. Okay. So when you understand that you can be divine and be human at the same time, then it gives you a completely different perspective. It's simple. You can be right or you can be wrong. Right is right and wrong is wrong. You can exemplify love or you can exemplify hate. The choice is yours, but you have free will and you have an ability to discern between what's right and what's wrong. When somebody is standing with a gun and their finger on the trigger, they know whether it's right or wrong to take somebody's life. They may have their reasons. It could be anger, it could be jealousy, it could be any of a number of things that motivate somebody to take someone else's life, but they know that it wasn't right. They may not have been in their rational mind when they made that decision. After it happened, they could have had some remorse, and maybe they didn't have any at all. But we know the difference between right and wrong. We all have that ability as beings in this universe. So this language is used kind of as an instrument against us. So we don't want to acknowledge that this thing that we call God exists within us, and that perhaps we're an extension of that. We're connected to it. We want to distance ourselves from it. And when we do that, we lose our power. And we have to get back to understanding who and what we are. Because the bottom line is, we don't know. We confused. We let somebody else redefine who and what we are. And as a result, we're sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves because somebody got elected 3 weeks ago or however long ago it was. We have this certain sense of hopelessness and helplessness because all these things are out here doing what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not thinking about, well, what can we do? And that's what we have to do. So I'm gonna climb down a little bit, bro. But I just I don't know why I just woke up with a fire in my belly this morning, because I witnessed what I witnessed, and Talise and Japo, they did an amazing job. Those brothers and sisters on stage, man. You don't see things like that in Cleveland. You don't go down to the corner of 79th and Huff and see a performance like that. You don't, and it's rare that you may go to Playhouse Square and see brothers and sisters from Cleveland doing those kinds of things. Joppo does get a lot of love, but most of the time it's the Europeans that put us up. And then when there's a program, that's who shows up. And this is about us. This is about us celebrating who we are and the cultural element. And I know culture is something that's really important to you. Culture is the reason that I have this on right now. This is actually a funerary garment. Black and red are the colors that they wear to funerals in Ghana. So there's intentionality about this program this morning. The last thing I will talk about before I pass the mic, Brother Hamptonio, is just the solstice. Typically, at least once a year, we'll have Dr. Brown on, and we'll talk about the winter solstice. He's not with us today, but I just want to share what I can about what I know and what I feel about that. The winter solstice started at 4:21 this morning. And what it represents is 4 days in which the sun stands still. That's what solstice is about, the sun standing still. So the longest night of the year happens today. The shortest day of the year is today. And after 4 days, then the days will begin to be longer. What this represents in a natural sense is our resurrection or our rebirth. That sun rising on the horizon, 1 degree, that's what that represents. And what should be happening right now is that we should be taking a pause. We should be looking back at the year that has passed, looking back at our accomplishments, looking back at our failures and acknowledging them, and setting intentions for the year to come. This should be reflection. It should be introspection, because it's serious. The energy of this season is settling things down. Snow falls, the leaves drop from the trees, hit the ground. The bears hibernate, other things hibernate. It's time for a pause. It's not time to be out partying and, running the streets and getting drunk and all those, because none of those things are conducive to you going within yourself. And the power that we have as beings in this universe, it lies within us. I've been having a lot of thoughts about this information superhighway and the fact that we stay plugged in to information. I mean, we wake up in the morning, first thing we do is we look at our phone, and everywhere you go, you got people plugged into their phones. 5 people sitting at a dinner table, everybody doing this, looking at their phone and eating. When do you go into yourself and think for yourself? Because if you're looking at this all the time, then you got somebody else thinking for you. How can you be strategic? How can you be intentional when somebody else is creating your perception of reality? You could look at the picture on the beach. You could watch a video of the waves coming in on the beach, or you go to the beach and see it in real life. And some of us would rather pick this up and look at it on a screen instead of going there. But when you go to the beach, you get the benefit and the impact of the water. You get the benefit of the impact of the air that's coming to you. You get the benefit and the impact of the sunshine upon your body. You get the benefit of the impact of your feet in the sand, grounding and connecting to the earth and shedding positive ions. You can't do that sitting in your living room staring at a phone. You're not experiencing real life. You're experiencing an artificial life. And where we are today, what they are doing is they're doing everything they can to detach us from reality and give us a substitute reality. And within that substitute reality, they are defining us, they are monitoring us. Man, I saw a video the other day being plugged into the information superhighway, and it was about the level of surveillance that they have on employees. So you could work at Starbucks, and they got cameras in Starbucks that are following everyone around and monitoring their movement. So one person may have poured 20 cups of coffee in a day, and another person has poured 80 cups of coffee in a day. So the person that poured 20 cups of coffee, they could get fired because they haven't been productive enough. How would Starbucks know if that person had been productive unless they had been following them? So you're being watched all the time. And that information that they're collecting on you can be very detrimental to you. And this is happening without your permission. You didn't say, hey, spy on me, but that's what they're doing. So that to me is an indication of another layer of slavery. So you got all these people in this country in those situations that don't even understand their enslavement. But they can tell you how many points LeBron scored last night. So, we're living in delusion until we go into ourselves to understand who and what we are and what we should be doing. So I'm going to step down, brother. I know I've been rambling, but this is the time. This is the time, brother.
I agree, brother. You said a whole lot, brother, for sure, and on point with it. It's a sad commentary when you look at it. In our condition, we're suffering from this mental discord. And our ancestors talked about it. We talked about this time. I charge everybody that is listening to really, if you want to, do better in navigating through this situation that we see that we are faced with, you have to educate yourself in preparation. Our ancestors understood that we have all the knowledge and wisdoms of our ancestors inside of us already. It just has to be brought out. That Professor Small goes on to say that you just carbon copy of your ancestors. So we have to learn some certain things that hasn't been taught to us. How can we know something about something from in essence, our oppressors is not going to be able and not even qualified to teach us the things that we need to know as people, as human beings, like you say, having this spiritual and physical experience simultaneously going on in our existence. You got to be your tail has to be pulled to understand this relationship. And our ancestors has laid all that out. We should know by now. It's no way that we shouldn't know the game that is being played to separate us. When you talked about that separation between us and them, you got 1.4 billion people on the continent of Africa. You run into, just like you wouldn't want to be painted with a broad brush about something. Don't paint the brothers in Africa with a broad brush as well, because you had a bad experience with an African, and this, you don't know the conditions that he came over here with. You don't know the propaganda that has been laid out, he's been indoctrinated with. You don't know all that stuff. And we should be smart enough to know the game that is being played to keep us separated over there. If you've been paying attention at all to what's going on in Africa, you know that it's the richest continent on the planet. So if you know that, and by you being and you living over here in this country, you know this, what greed is, and you know what greed do to people. Dr. Henry Clark say the man has a problem with refractions. He don't want to give you a piece of it. He want it all. He want to control it all. Going back to your whole dollar thing with the dealing with bricks and all. People are getting tired of being manipulated and weaponized by the dollar over here. That's what you're having here. You're having a change. People getting tired. So but the point I'm saying is that we need to educate ourselves, and we should know that, hey, if that continent is the richest, folks and powers that be is trying to get their hands on it. And they're going to do whatever is possible to keep those people docile, to keep them worn, to keep them ill, unhealthy, and they're going to put their puppets in there. We should know that by now. This is 2024. But the reason that we don't know this, because we got our minds on so many insignificant things. We got our minds on, and that's the game they play. For the ones who profess to be the talented 10 or the smart, they think they're smart and plugged into everything, then you should know this. You should know the game that's being played. You should know. So we suffer from this mental discord, and like they say, the best way to immobilize the people of the group is to keep them consumed in their own discord. So the question is now, how are they able for this long length of time to keep us in this discord? Because you don't have cultural unity. You don't know who you are. You subject to all of that because the system put all those mechanisms together to keep you disconnected. How? To keep you disconnected, I got to cut off everything that could have been positive about you, about your culture. I got to show you that what you had before was worthless. It didn't mean anything. It has no value. Your culture, from where you come from. I got to make you the lowest thing on the planet. So from that point on, now you're looking towards the people that's per se that your safety and your survival is in their hand. Now you're looking at them for some direction. Our ancestors have, I think even Browder talked about it last week. They have so much to offer you to help you navigate through this thing called life. But the exploitation, the negative narrative that has been put out about Africa, you don't look that way. You got a people that Browder expressed, that has been on this planet the longest. And we wasn't walking around, with our twiddling our thumbs, waiting for the Europeans to come save us. We was charting the stars. We was looking at nature. We was proving God to ourselves through nature. Science is nothing but the study of God. If you want to know God, look at his works. Look at his handiworks. And that's what our people did. And if you think about it, you'll see that indigenous people all over the planet do the same thing. They are close to nature. And they incorporated nature into their way of life, because that's the study of God. That's God expressing himself. And if and I was talking to you about those principles that you need to know. If you study those 7 Hermetic principles, or you get the book, the Kabbalion, or you get Wayne's book, Ancient Future, then it would help guide you and make you understand, so people can't come behind you and give you a bunch of hogwash and having you believe in it. Because if it don't fall under the laws, under the principles, you can dismiss it as just conjecture and bullcrap. But because we're uneducated ourselves with who we are in our spirituality and our African traditions, folks are able to take advantage of you. And we've been enslaved, a generation before us and the generation and after us, if we don't do anything about it. But there is a saving grace. Our ancestors said, when you talk about the principle, the pendulum swings in both directions. It's going to be a time that these things is going to come to pass, and the light is going to return back to the continent. Information is going to return back. If you have ears to hear and eyes to see, it's coming back. It's a change. So in closing about this connection, which is what you brought up, Vince, is very dear to me about this connection between us and our African brothers all over the diaspora. You have to see the game and understand the game that's being played. I challenge you. I challenge you to when you have that African brother or sister that you work with or that you know, ask them what has he been shown or she been shown about the African American brothers over here. What if they told him? What if they've shown him? What kind of movies and things did they see about the African American brother and sister over here? And I will guarantee you that it's all negative. It's all negative. The average one. You know, everybody marvels at the superstars, you know what I mean? But we talking about the average common folk. You know, it's all negative. And that's for a reason. And then, like you, and using your word all the time, Vince, it's very intentional. You know, it's very intentional about what they're doing and how they're doing, because it's about separation. We have to grow to know that. We have to grow to know that it's intentional separation so they can take the continent without any stumbling blocks, no barriers, no roadblocks from us. We'll turn our heads and just let them take all the resources so they can take care of their babies from 50 to 100 years, so they can continue their perpetuation of what they want to do, of trying to run everything. Africa is the salvation for us. I truly believe it in my hearts, even if you're not talking about living there or you know, moving there. But you need to get a stake in what's going on, because the motherland is going to be the other land if you just sit back and you do nothing. But if you've been paying attention at all what's going over in Africa right now, you would see that surely a change is coming.
Well, I got to tell you, brother, again, I agree with you. And I want to set the record straight, because you and I, Lynn, we don't have to agree on everything. You know, there's a wide range of opinions on things, you know, and but I agree, man, with what you just said wholeheartedly. One thing that I thought about, again, reflecting on the conversation that I had with the brother yesterday, was this idea of abandoning America. If we leave America and go to Africa, we're abandoning what we built here. And what I shared with him was that, yes, this is just as much ours as it is anyone else's, because we were here first. So it's not necessarily about running away, but it's about expanding our footprint. There's no law that prevents you from being here and being there if you understand how to use the law to facilitate that. And you have countries in Africa that are saying, come home. And the thing about it is, when you go there and you see that there is an economic benefit to being there, you over here paying $2,000 a month for rent, and you can go to Africa and that same $2,000 will put a roof over your head for an entire year. So that's one. Number two, you go there, you're not complaining that it's December 21st and 32 degrees outside, because it's nice and warm outside and it's more conducive to your well-being, because you're getting D3 all day, every day.
You got raw there. Yeah, exactly.
You know, you go over there and there are places where you can go, you get natural fruits and vegetables that don't have the chemicals and everything in them.
Fresh food every day.
So you can experience a better quality of life. Why would you not want that for yourself? Even if it's just for a month or two. You know, even if it's just temporary. You know, we take our vacations, and some of us will go all the way to Asia for our vacation. Some of us will go all the way to Hawaii. It's United States, but have you ever been to Hawaii? Do you know how long it takes to get there? Yeah. You know, it ain't like flying to Chicago. You know, and we'll spend our money. Uplift. It's a cultural organization here in Cleveland. They're going to Tanzania in February, and the cost is only $24.99, and it includes airfare.
Wow. That's a good price.
Man, yeah. Please. If I didn't have something to do on the 15th of February, I would be giving some serious thought to making that trip just for the sake of going, because I haven't had a vacation for a year.
Mm.
But the point that I'm trying to make is we have to stop looking at Africa through the lenses of Europeans who want us to not go. Because guess where they go on vacation? They call it holiday.
Mm.
They go to Africa. As a matter of fact, there are some European women who come to Africa because they want to experience the African man. And because those brothers like the money, they participate in that. So just making it plain, just like folks go to Jamaica and the Caribbean like Stella did when she got her groove back.
Mm-hmm.
Europeans are going to Africa to do the same thing. So I'm just putting it out there. Before you criticize it, experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Lynn, you've been to Africa before. You know what it's like over there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a chance, let's say in a perfect world, you could just say, feel like going to Africa. I got the money. I'm going to go. And you didn't have anything holding you back. You couldn't wait to get over there. Am I telling the truth?
You telling the truth. Absolutely.
So,
you telling the truth.
And I'll be frank, we don't live in a perfect world.
Mm.
You can go over there and find folks that will take advantage of you, just like you come over here and folks will take advantage of your own people will take advantage.
You've been taking advantage of for 400 years, but go ahead on.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you could find all these excuses to say, well, I can't do this because of that.
Somebody took my phone.
Yeah, bruh. I went to Africa in 2019 and left my phone in America. It was one of the most liberating things that I've ever done. It wasn't intentional, to use my word. I didn't do it on purpose. But 3 weeks without a phone and I was just fine. As a matter of fact, I didn't have that, oh, where's my phone? Because you know how it is. You don't have your phone. There's a certain level, because it's almost like all my memory is right here. If I lose this, I lose my memory.
That's funny. I like that. Yeah,
it's true. And look at it. You can actually buy memory. This is a 256 gigabyte iPhone 12 Pro Max. And when the memory runs out, I got issues. That's really a power play, man. Because you can limit somebody's existence by limiting their memory, and if they can't afford to buy more memory, then they have none. And you have the greatest instrument that you could ever have in terms of memory, because it's right here.
Yep.
So it's again, there are places in Africa where you experience poverty and so forth and so on. But if you have resources and you can make that trip, folks are going to Ghana, for instance, bruh. They build them brand new homes for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. And they're just magnificent places. They're in a position where, you can dig a borehole and have water. So you don't have to pay to have water brought to your house, or you don't have to pay to have water piped into your house. You can get a supply of water that you make one payment and you got it for the rest of your life. You got abundant sun, so you can install solar panels that will create electricity for you. Yeah, I saw a video a few weeks ago where this brother was in a very impoverished state, but somehow he was able to scrape up enough money to buy a solar panel and just one light bulb in the house. But they got free light every night just from that small investment. And this is someone that has limited resources. And there are those of us here in America who, they would say we're living high on the hog, or we live in large or whatever. You're making 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year salary would have you on the continent literally living like a king.
Mhm.
You could live like a king or a queen, So we have to expand our perception and understand how, as you pointed out, Africa being that place on the planet that has all those resources that everybody needs and everybody wants, and we are the stewards of those resources. And I think just as Ibrahim Traore has done in Burkina Faso, becoming the effective stewards of those resources means that the people don't have to live in impoverishment. We could go back to Muammar Gaddafi
Mhm.
and see what he did for Libya when he was what he was doing, what he was doing. The people had housing, they had education, they got the benefit of the country's resources. And that's what has to happen on a global scale. There has been conversation about a United States of Africa. Can you imagine, Brother Lynn, if all of those 54 countries unified and had agreements about how they were going to deal with the rest of the world? It would literally bring all those other countries to their needs because they would not have what they need to survive, bruh.
Mhm.
They can't exist without us. So when we wake up to the power that we have as a people on this planet, that 1 point whatever billion people that you talked about,
Mhm.
then we have the perfect prescription for everybody's needs to be met. We don't have to suffer.
Mhm.
People are waking up, man. Just this morning I was watching a video online where they had it wasn't may have been Fruit Loops. I think it was Fruit Loops, but they were selling Kellogg's Fruit Loops for $1 a box.
Mhm.
I don't buy cereal, so I don't know what the going prices are, but I
Yeah.
know that $1, that's real cheap.
Mhm.
And the reason that they have to do this is because people are waking up to the fact that that food is poison.
Mhm.
So they have to make it attractive just for you to take it off the shelf. But we're pushing back. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
yeah, we're pushing back. Black Friday. Black folk weren't going to Walmart because we heard that the people who own Walmart supported a candidate that we didn't like. When you look at collective power, that's what it is. Collective work and what? Responsibility. Okay.
Mhm.
We have to be responsible to ourselves and for ourselves. So when we make these decisions, they can have an impact. So when we don't show up at Walmart, it has an impact. When we don't buy those poisons that they want to sell to us, it has an impact. And then I guess the greatest impact of all is then when we make a better choice about what we're going to put in our bodies, then we get the benefit and we don't get the control that is exerted upon us when we choose to take and to consume the chemicals that they want to give us.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We have to know that by now. Far as the health is our health is concerned, America is way down on the scale as far as healthy people is concerned. We spend the most for medical, but we have the one of the worst group of people living in this country. What does that tell you? Let me say something. They say America has about 4%. I'm trying to do this quick. 4% of the planet's population, but we're responsible for 60% of drug use, legal and illegal. 60%. This small group of people. You got more guns than anybody on the planet. Okay, you got more jails than anybody on the planet. You got more serial killers than anybody on the planet, and you got a bunch of unhealthy people. What is that telling you? We doing something wrong here. And you got 3 places that got 1.4 billion people, and guess what? None of the civilians can carry a gun. Just the soldiers. How are they doing it? 1.4 billion now. These places got 1 billion more people than America do. Even up in Canada and places like that. How are they surviving without walking around with guns and promoting guns? We're doing something wrong, people. So I need y'all to, this is funny. I need y'all to buy my t-shirt. I got a t-shirt that I made called Anti-Establishment. That's what I'm calling myself now. Anti-Establishment. You want to get your shirt, you give me a call so we can wear it this summer. And I'm saying I'm anti-establishment because we got to relearn everything that we've been taught here in this country. Just about everything. Because it's not based, it's not holistic, it's not based in working in harmony with the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. It's not based on the principles that you need in order to live in harmony with yourself and things around you. So many things is taking you out of alignment. That this system, they new kids on the block. What's the African proverb? You don't teach the path of a gorilla. I mean, you don't teach the path of the forest to an old gorilla. He already know that. He's been here. That's why I say look into what our ancestors have said about living and life. All these amenities we have, actually, they're detrimental to you. They're not in harmony. You're not with nature anymore. Dr. Fritz said if our ancestors wanted all this mess, we would have had it. But they found out it's not good for you. It's not great for you in longevity. Look at everything around. They ain't telling you about the truth about these cell phones. They ain't telling you the truth about these computers. They ain't telling you about these things that are having an adverse effect on you, on your life. The food, the chemicals that they put in everything. That's what I'm saying. Even your spirituality, your religion is coming from an area and a group of folks that didn't have no spirituality in them at all. They didn't believe the stuff, and they still don't believe in it. Because if they did believe in it, we'll be living in a better place. So that's why I say anti-establishment. You got to relearn everything. You got to seek out, because you see right now this is not working. And when Vince talked about, we did, I know people talk about, we built this and this, that, and that. Yeah, that is true. To the utmost. We was here, we built this, but the man is in control right now. And he done showed you for 400 years that he ain't got no holler for you. So if you think he's going to ever open up the book of equality and say, I got this for you, we're going to start this over, we're going to do this thing right, when you think that's going to happen? So again, I say leave America to his own devices. You could be in it, but not of it. Because if you believe in karma, if you believe in that at all, America's going to have its day. You can't do the evil. You can't operate out of order and think you're going to have longevity. That's a weak foundation. You're going to crumble. It's going to crumble. And in closing, at least on this segment, we're talking about balance. See, this man don't understand balance. You can't operate out of balance. The way we do our females here, even though that's another subject with itself, because we have to rise up as a people and get into our space on who we are and what we're about. We've been fooled and lured down that path. But everything is about balance. With our spirituality, our ancestors didn't have no problem with the female counterpart. The bloodline, the royalty, and everything else went through the woman's seed. See, this man did not understand that. You see, that's why you need to be grounded in your culture and who you are. Because if you operating out of sense, God ain't in the clouds looking at you. It's these principles that are governing this planet. You got to understand that. And when you get out of balance, you get spanked. So if by them not even having the right balance on our male and female, Dr. Henry Carr said that this this country would never work until we put the female where she belongs, because that's balance. And you see, she's not even in our religious text. She barely in the pulpit to even preach. Like God can't talk to her. So you fall in the wrong lead, my people.
All right. With that, I want to encourage those of you who are listening to migrate over to our YouTube channels and our Facebook page to continue this broadcast. I want to share information with you about the Kwanzas. You know, this is the 40th year for the Greater Cleveland Kwanzaa Alliance, and they're going to be doing a program at the East Cleveland Public Library on the 26th. I also want to take this opportunity to encourage you to attend Kwanzaa, the Light of the Kinara at Cleveland Public Theater this evening, and you can also go tomorrow. Just go online to Cleveland Public Theater and you can get all the details. Again, as we close the program, shout out to our engineer, Tone Harley. Bro, we love you, man. We appreciate what you do to keep this broadcast going on AM 1490 WERE. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.
Peace.
All right. With that, just want to welcome you to YouTube via my YouTube channel and also the Journey with Hamptonio. You can catch us every Saturday on our respective YouTube channels. You can also catch us on Facebook on the 360 Info Network Facebook page, on my page. And I don't know if you have it on your page as well, Lynn, but you have different options. So you can never say, I can't find the program, because we're literally everywhere. I mentioned the Cleveland Public Theater performance of Kwanzaa Light of the Kinara. And again, folks, we got to show up. We got to be there, because this is about us. You know, this is an opportunity for us to celebrate ourselves. We getting beat down in Cleveland, man. They telling us that this is the worst place in the world for Black women. You know, we talk about the infant mortality rate. We talk about the lead poisoning and all the issues that we have. And they would have us to believe that we have no reason to want to even be alive, because things are just so desolate and just so disparaging and so forth. But at the same time, we have each other. We're the strongest of the strong. We have survived all the things that they have done to keep us down. So there has to come a point where we celebrate ourselves and we celebrate each other. We come together, we break bread, we dance, we sing, and we enjoy each other for who we are, but also we recognize who we are, because the real critical issue, Brother Hamptonio, is that we don't know who we are. You know, they have done everything they could to remove our knowledge of ourselves from us. When we were brought to this country against our will, they took our language away from us. And you might think that that's a trivial thing. And you know, we go to other countries and we mad at them because they don't speak English. Right? Because we have this egocentric view of the planet because we're Americans. You know, and the real tragedy is that American ways go to other countries and it corrupts them. You go to other countries and they're experiencing obesity the way we experience it here in America because they've taken on our ways. But then when you go to the village and somebody is entrenched or consumed in their own culture, they're not suffering the same way because they're not doing the things that we do. So they have a better quality of life. And you may look at it like, oh, it's simple. But, bruh, walking barefoot, not having those $200 Nike shoes on that are putting a barrier between your foot and the earth, and the benefit that you get from that, you might look at that as primitive. But in reality, that's some high-tech stuff. You know, we're electric beings that don't even understand that. So we swimming in radiation that's coming from the router, and it's affecting our physicality. We don't know about the meridians. We don't know about our biosphere. We don't know about the way that they're using these electronics to control us. We don't know that we could do something like this and push back against those electromagnetic waves and those radio frequencies. We don't know because we don't take the time to do the research. We talk about ancestors, and we're afraid to pour a libation because we think it's voodoo.
I gotta throw this one in there right quick. Yeah, but we'll say angels all day long.
All day long.
All day long and say angels. But when somebody say ancestors, oh no. Oh, come on, man. See, that's it's funny, boy. It's really
Sister
funny.
Yavita was talking on stage the other night, and she was just talking about ancestors, and she talked about her mother. And she said she still has conversations with her mother. And I tell people all the time, I understand the grieving process, because when somebody transitions to the next realm, yeah, you're going to miss that person because you used to be able to have them sit in front of you and touch you and so forth and so on. But just because they're in a different realm doesn't mean that they can't communicate with you. And you can ask them questions and you can get answers,
About how you talk.
Yeah, going to the book that Wayne wrote. The first chapter references the fact that the universe is mental. When people say they heard the voice of God, I'm just trying to imagine that you sitting in your space, your sacred space, your bedroom, wherever you are, in your car, wherever you are, and you hear this voice. Do you hear a voice that other people can hear, or do you just hear a voice that you can hear? And more than likely, it was a voice that only you could hear. My father transitioned 11 years ago, and I can still hear his voice, and I can still feel his presence in my life. When I look in the mirror and I look at my face, and I see the resemblance between his face and mine, and I'm his firstborn, I'm not him, but I'm an extension of him. And we are extensions of all of those who came before us. And there were a lot of people who came before us. If you just do the math, there were 2, there were 4, there were 8, there were 16, there were 32, there were 64, and you can keep going. All these people that existed before you that share your DNA, they're a part of you. We can go back to grandma, grandpa, great-grandma, great-grandpa, and some of us may even be able to go farther than that. But the fact is that we're still connected to all of those who came before us. And they exist for our benefit. And I like what you say when you say you done tried everyone else, when you gonna try me. Right? Because in that particular paradigm, they're in a position to help you. They're in a position to open doors for you. There's a connection. Just because they're not in a physical body doesn't mean that they can't operate on your behalf. Now, some of us may think in terms of, well, we'll put it in Jesus's hands. Okay, so let's go with that. Let's put it in Jesus's hands. But if you go with the narrative that we've been given all this time about the chosen people, right? And the prophecies about being in captivity for 400 years. Huh? Who else has that history? So if we're those people being humans, then we have a genetic connection. So if in our prayers, we're praying to that which we see as being one of us, that's one thing. But if you pray into something that's outside of you, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed creature that they created for us
Mm-hmm.
to worship,
Mm-hmm.
then you praying to the wrong entity, because that ain't you. That's somebody else's creation. Now, if you look back and you say, well, he was in Africa, he spent that time in Egypt. There are some that say he was in India. It's a story. It's a metaphor. It's an allegory. But when you look at that, you can see all the things that this entity was able to acquire because of its experience. Went to Egypt, studied with the Essenes, right? You know, there are some who say the reason that he was taken out is because he was practicing magic. What, turning water into wine? Alchemy. Raising somebody from the dead? They said, oh, no, we can't have somebody like him. We got to take care of that, so that they took him out. That's the story as it is told by some.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things about that book, about that document that people don't fully understand, that have to be interpreted for them. But the interpretations many times are for manipulations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like the whole idea of tithing. You know, and I'm not being anti-religious or anything like that. I'm just pointing some things out. And there are people who have had debates on this whole issue. So I'm just giving you what I've heard in those debates.
Mm-hmm.
But tithing is not about money. Tithing was about providing from your bounty to benefit others, to benefit the community,
Mm-hmm.
to benefit the village.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about making Pastor so-and-so rich and buying him jet planes and all that other kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was about taking care of the people. And that's the African way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going back to the Nguzo Saba. That's the African way. You know, it's funny, Lynn, I looked up the meaning of the 7 principles. I looked up the pronunciation and all that and the definitions.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, one of those definitions was socialism, cooperative economics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The definition on Google Translate,
Mm-hmm.
Ujamaa, is
Mm-hmm.
socialism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we've been taught about socialism is that there's something evil about that.
That and liberalism. Yeah, well, go ahead.
Because somebody can't be rich because everybody's got something.
Yes.
Okay. Now, and I'm not saying that Ujamaa means socialism, because socialism is their word.
Mm-hmm.
But Ujamaa as an African principle means that we take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to do. So just to bring it home, you know, we have these conversations about the food supply, how it's being corrupted. And we know that most of the food products, I'm going to go out on a limb and say most of the food products have issues because of the genetic modification and the fertilizers and the BPA, all this stuff out there, right? Mm-hmm. So if we understand that, and we, being the agricultural experts that were imported to this country to make agriculture work, it's not that we don't know how to do it, and we can feed each other. So you got a garden and you grow this, and I got a garden, I grow that, and we all got gardens, and then we can just share with what we have. Everybody eats. It's not about getting over. It's about taking care of ourselves. We have been ingrained with this idea that the government is supposed to take care of us. The purpose of the government is not to take care of us. The purpose of the government is to control us. That's what govern means. It means to control. So if the folks who are in control don't have our best interests at heart, and clearly they don't. I mean, think about it, bruh. You can buy a package of cigarettes, go to the store, get the package, and then on the package, the print says, in a matter of speaking, this, I'm gonna just say it, this shit can kill you. We on YouTube, I can cuss a little bit. Sorry, Mom. But it says this can cause death in essence. So if you have a knowledge that this can kill you or can kill people, why would you permit it to be sold? That just, I thought about that over a long period of time. What sense does it make to sell something that kills people to them?
You do it all the time.
All the time.
All the
and
time.
Not only that, they subsidize the farmers that grow the product that kills people.
Yeah.
The government does that. So why would we have so much reverence for an entity that espouses death and destruction of its citizens? That makes no sense to me.
That's why I say it's mental, bro.
It is, you know, and we drink the Kool-Aid.
It's mental. Don't you know that's what I was kind of alluding to before, Vince, is that look out to everything that is around you. Are you happy with that? You know, look at the hospitals booming. Look at the sickness booming. Look at the young folks dying so much earlier and getting so many of these diseases that they shouldn't get at all, but at least get it later on in life. I got a niece, man, she ain't probably about 4 or 5 years old, dealing with some diabetic stuff. You know what I mean? Kids. She got a little monitor or something on her or something. I hope she grow out of that or something. But I'm saying, you know, who are you following? You know what I mean? You're looking at the wrong leader, you know. And you should be able, if we've been free now, one of my ex-bosses, you said, well, that was back then, we free now. No, you ain't, because you're still making the same situation. You're not coming in with any kind of critical analysis to say, hey, look at all this going around me. Do this situation have the best interest? You just said, you know, their confidence. They can write the crap can kill you right on the stuff that you're talking about, and we still do it. How confident do that make somebody feel, brother? So they can say, "Oh shoot, these folks is walking sleep. They walking dead." You know what I mean? Maybe it's the fluoride that's driving them, that got us all docile and crazy. I don't know, but it don't make any sense. See, but if you went back and you study some of your stuff, you know, you would look at another way of doing it that is more holistic, and that's the whole point that we saying it. It's a holistic way of approach. The way you look at everything, life, death, your relationship with somebody. Hey, we're in this holiday season right now. If you got into your cultures, there are so many celebrations that you can do that deal with coming together and paying homage to your ancestors, your elders, the planet and stuff like that. If you knew your stuff, you know, rather than going and celebrating everybody else's stuff, but you can't get into your stuff and your principles.
Yes.
So,
I just wanted to mention, well, first I want to release this thought before I forget. The two most profitable businesses on the planet are war and death care.
Well, yeah, I can see that, brother.
Yeah. Just think about it. Yeah. When have we not had war going on somewhere on the planet?
And what we do.
And we talk about this from time to time on the show, but if you don't have wars, you can't justify manufacturing all of those weapons. They're not going to make all that stuff for it to sit on a shelf somewhere and not be sold. And many times it's the same company that's selling arms to both sides of the war.
Absolutely.
You know, so just think about it, and then look at healthcare. It's a diabolical system. What they do is they create all these food products. Food products make people sick. People go to the doctor. Pharmaceutical industry comes into play because they replace the food products with pharmaceuticals. And then they have a death care industry that maintains the whole maintenance paradigm. So it's come in and get this shot every so often, or come in and let us run these diagnostic tests. I was listening to a spot on the radio yesterday, and they were talking about how, you know, they have this mobile mammogram unit, right? And mammograms are problematic in and of themselves, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. But the woman was saying, well, you know, they come for the mammogram, but then we have all these other screenings where we can find out other things. So, you know, all these screenings and stuff that we do, many times it's kind of like a witch hunt, because we can use these various ways to find out if something is going on in your body that needs attention. And then we find it. Okay, well, now we can do this. So what happens is you get the diagnosis, and then you get the treatment, and then you get hooked for the rest of your life on things that they can do to help you maintain. It would be one thing if they diagnosed you and provided you with a natural remedy that you wouldn't have to do for the rest of your life. That's when it serves a positive purpose. If something is going on in your body, you find out about it before it's too late, and you can do something that will enable you to experience a better quality of life. And I get that. Mm-hmm. But the problem that I have is that they use these diagnostic procedures to hook you up to a paradigm that's going to be detrimental to you and provide profit for them. That's the bottom line. That's how Cleveland Clinic is in a perpetual state of building. When have you ever driven down Carnegie, Cedar, Euclid Avenue and not seen something that they're building? Even if it's just another parking lot, so that they can collect fees for parking. And then you look at the periphery of the Cleveland Clinic and you see the wide disparity. And the irony is that the people who live on the periphery are the people who are coming to the hospital to get the treatment that they got because they went to a free screening. You see what I'm saying? It's, you know, and part of it, it just goes back to that self-knowledge. Remember, physician, heal thyself.
Yeah.
And you go back to that village, and there was an elder who knew that this herb is for that. Send a child out, send somebody out, go get this herb, do this. Because we know ourselves. But what does the spleen do? What does the kidney do? What does the liver do? We don't know. We know that the heart beats, and because the heart beats,
and our lungs take in some air and stuff.
We breathe, but we don't, bro. We don't even know the power of our breath. Absolutely. If you slow your breath down periodically from time to time, it extends your life. That's what meditation is about. It's about being conscious and aware of your breath. And the breath is the most important thing to you as a being, because without breath, you don't live. But we don't know. That's why, again, I say it all the time, know yourself. And I know it does that. You know, it's just real simple. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. But, and I've read the poem, know yourself is knowing that thing that we call God, that it really is just that intelligence that created everything. And there's so much information out there. If you seek it, you can look up what a pancreas does. If you're interested in knowing yourself, you can know what your digestive system does. You can know about the lymphatic system. We got brothers like, what's his name? Yaki, Rafa Elohim. Mm-hmm. That brother be breaking it down to the microscopic cosmic level. Mm-hmm. So there are folks, you got videos, endless videos of Dr. Sebi sharing his knowledge about how your body works, about what's good for you and what's not. The information is there, but you have to seek it out. Otherwise, you're gonna go Ozempic because you got a few extra pounds and you want to lose them.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who take Ozempic, they suffer for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and you should know, if you took a good survey on some of the things that we talked about and some of the things that you may see on your own, and seeing where we are at as a society right now, you should be open for some other suggestive things at this point, because you see it ain't working. You see it ain't working. So you should be looking at people who's talking about an alternative method of trying to do something. And if you really paid attention to it, it makes more sense when you do it than this approach. You know, you got I describe it almost like this. You got new kids on the block versus some old kids on the block. You know, so it's almost like you can't go into a house and kick the parents out the house and have the children run the house and don't think by a matter of time it's going to get dysfunctional. That's what we're looking at right now. You got a group of people, a culture of people that are running things, and the house is falling down. Food messed up, water messed up, healthcare system messed up, ozone messed up, fracking messed up, ecosystem messed up, air messed up. And we can go on and on. So your conscious mind don't tell you that, hey man, food messed up. Maybe I might need to try some other way or another approach. Or do you walk blindly and just keep on doing what you're doing? And seeing that, you know, these illnesses is coming earlier and earlier on. And for us who's got a little age to them, you know, back in certain time frames, some of these ailments wasn't even heard of. You rarely seen, you know, some dementia or some autism or this, that, and that. But, you know, until you seen, you know, a change in our approaches to things, you know, then you start seeing these other things going on. That's a problem. See, we're not, you know, we have gotten to the point to where we're so dependent to where we can't even see historical breadcrumbs, you know, investigative breadcrumbs that we can put together to come with some type of critical analysis on something. We're not thinking about it. If you see hospitals all around you growing, adding on new wings, getting a facelift, what does that tell you? We got the wrong approach. You know, we're doing something wrong. You know, the pathology is running wild, and they're looking for future, you know, pathology. You know, it's so, because hospitals is a business. So where's our critical thinking to say, hey, maybe I need to look at something else? What are we putting right here in this mouth? You made a good point, because I was going to wanted for 10 years or more, wanted to put a summer program together for kids. And one of the blocks of instructions was the anatomy of the body, like you just said. You know, the anatomy of where is our spleen at? Where is the liver? What is the responsibility of those particular organs and what they do? Maybe you may think about what you're putting in your mouth when you know the functionality of these particular organs and things like that. But right now, it's like out of sight, out of mind. You're not thinking about, you know, how these organs work and what's going on with them, and they're connected, because it's all about harmony, y'all. They all work in conjunction with each other. If you have one of the organs that go awry, that you're having some issues in it, it's going to affect the other organs. You know, what do you think? This thing called life, when you say knowing yourself, it's amazing. It is simply amazing. How do iridology? I can tell you something that is going on with the functioning of your bodies by looking into your eyes. How can I tell by reflexology in your hands? by looking at your face, by looking at your fingernails. The body is, our ancestors knew this type of stuff. You see brown patches on the other side of people's faces, they see it getting dark. You're having some liver issues. You see the puffiness around your eyes, you're having some kidney issues. So this system is not teaching us what we need to know. You should know that by now, just by looking at the results of what you're getting, of what you're seeing. You can see, so you should be open to look for alternative ways of doing some things, because it's not working. It's not working for our children, the type of education that they're getting right now. I'm a true and strong believer. If you feel better about yourself, you do better about yourself. I strongly believe that. So that's why I say anti-establishment. If you want some of my t-shirts, let me know. Give me a call, because that's the only way I can define it. Because I can't look at too many things that the system has put together that I want to delve off into all wholeheartedly, because there's some issues with it. Almost everything he created. So I'm looking for alternative methods and do the best. Some things we can't get away from, but we can do better. If you understood that, what I'm saying? If you understood, and when the student is ready to learn, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
So if you got in your consciousness saying that I want to do better, I'm looking for better, the Creator will put somebody in your life to start guiding you and show you way. When we show you the way. When we talk about our ancestors, all our scholars and mentors say, before the ancestors can step in, you got to reach out to them and you got to ask them for help. I took this as far as I can do. I can go, my ancestors. I'm giving it to you. I'm asking you to come in and help me with this. You got to reach out to them.
Yeah. And something, Lynn, I'm glad you brought that up, because part of the reason that we exist is to carry out their plans. And they're there to help us carry out their plans. Right? Mm-hmm. That we want to pretend that they don't exist. And when we stop acknowledging them, they do cease to exist.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to invoke them.
Yes.
My thought yesterday, as I was driving home from Cleveland Public Theater, was about the Pythagorean theory. Why do we call it the Pythagorean theory? I thought we should just say, okay, we're going to call it the Imhotepian theory from now, henceforth, and forevermore. Mm-hmm. It's like we stopped calling ourselves slaves and we refer to our ancestors as enslaved. Mm-hmm. And there's a linguistic difference. There's a semantic difference, but there is a meaningful difference. We have to seize the power to define, because we have allowed them to define us. We all confused because we don't know what to call ourselves. Do we call ourselves Moors? The Moors might say, well, you shouldn't call yourself black, but what does Moor mean? Doesn't it mean black? But we're in a state of confusion because we have allowed others to define us and create that confusion. Mm-hmm. Some folks push back on the term African American. Somebody said yesterday, well, Elon Musk is African American because he was South African and he lives in America. So he can call himself African American just like we can. Of course, we understand the context of African American, but we've created this paradigm of confusion. Mm-hmm. If you talk to some Africans, they would say, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo, I'm Fulani, I'm Akan, I'm Ashanti, and that identity is tied to a specific land and a specific culture. But when it comes to us, because we've been detached from it, we don't know. So again, we lack knowledge of self. And then there's that whole idea of, well, we got DNA tests now. But what we're finding about uh, DNA tests is that some of those results are manipulative, and they're collecting our DNA for reasons that aren't in our best interest. So then there's that spiritual connection. And the spiritual connection, brother, is something that can't be denied. You know, I can speak for myself. I don't know what your experience was, but when I stood in that dungeon in Cape Coast, Ghana, I was moved to tears. There's a connection that doesn't just happen on its own. There's a connection. When I was in the Elmina dungeon, I didn't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in the Cape Coast dungeon, it was almost like I had been there before and I was remembering.
Mm. Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how how I can stress this. You would if you took the time and did some studying, or even had the opportunity to sit at the footstool of some of our cultural elders, and you was able to talk to them and get an understanding on how they look at life, because I think that's the travesty. Like I've been recently saying, is that, you know, for us to think that what we've been shown is the only way to do something, that's a travesty, you know. So you know, this, even if we look at it at Eastern philosophy, you know, and seeing how they attack the body and how they look at the body, you know what I'm saying, you will see that it's a different way that they look at it. You know, the different way that they approach illnesses and things like that. It's different. So I seen a movie on Netflix. Check it out. It's called The Lost Children. The Lost Children. Nice little documentary. You know, nothing real heavy. But it was in the Amazon. These kids and young girls, they got lost in the Amazon, and these tribal men and also some soldiers was looking for them for a long time. But what I got out of it, what I really enjoyed about the movie was, it was how the indigenous ones who knew the Amazon and how to move around in it, how their approach and going by how they was going to look for these kids and find it. It was different from the soldiers. They was calling on the spirits of the jungle and things like that, and their ancestors to help. I'm saying just their whole way, and they believed that. You know what I'm saying? And it was their way of life, their way of understanding. They say the Amazon has its keeper, its spirit, its own spirit, you know, and they was calling on the spirit of the Amazon. Hey, reach out to us, show us where these kids was, and just the way they moved and the way they thought, man. I loved it. You know, it was a beautiful. So I'm trying to say to you is that there's people out here who approach this thing called life different. Death, life, our relationship to the cosmos, our relationship to the creator, you know, and our existence. So it's another way of looking. And so with that, it develops a new way of consciousness. Like Dr. Amos Wilson say, your consciousness is your reality. So if you understood those particular things, like our ancestors are still with you, you can still talk to them, they can guide you and things like that, that your daily life changes. You know, see, what this science or this system is just coming around to understand is that, why do you think colors affect you the way they do? That color is not touching you. But how does it affect your psyche? How does smells affect your psyche? How does music affect your psychic and your emotions? You understand? That's real stuff, but you can't touch it. You can't feel it. I mean, like that, sometimes, bro. So we're walking blindly. We're walking blindly through this, trying to navigate ourselves through this thing called life. And this is what indigenous people understood. That's why they knew God and understood God and dealt with nature, because they looked at his work. his handiwork, and it made them understand that they're made up on the same type of cosmic dust, and it's all relative. All this unseen world is actually working with them or against them. And first and foremost, they understand and recognize that it's there. They recognize that it's there, and it can work against you or for you. So it's a whole nother unseen world out there that we're not paying attention. I'm just saying, because the man did not understand it, he's gonna put it out there as something that is wrong, evil, and things of that nature. So you don't tap into it. But other people are using it to their advantage. When in closing, when Oprah talked about that laws of attraction, when they was going through all that stuff, them ain't nothing but ancient principles that people are using to their advantage to ask the universe to work with you, to work in harmony, asking it. It wants to give you what you want. You know what I'm saying? But you got to know the mechanisms and the things in order to do it. You first got to recognize that you are connected in this thing called entanglement. You know what I mean? So it's a lot for us to learn. And I'm on that particular journey. And it ain't all about the amenities. If you go over to Africa and these indigenous places like that, it's not about them, because more often than not, those amenities is harmful for you. I'm gonna say something. This is a little crazy, Vince, but it's the truth. Even if wiping your behind, using that white toilet paper, God knows that's some toxic stuff that you don't know what you're doing. And you're gonna trip on somebody else because they lose using a leaf or something to that nature. That might be the best thing that you could be doing. It could be the best thing that you're doing. You're using some synthetic, that they don't put some chemicals on it, put some coloring on it, God knows, and you putting it into an open orifice of your body. And you don't know what it's doing to you. But they primitive.
I'm gonna elucidate on that, because the toothpaste, what does it have in it? Fluoride.
Yeah.
What happens with the fluoride? It decalcifies your pineal gland and it inhibits your ESP, right? And then you have deodorant. The deodorant has aluminum in it. The aluminum is said to cause cancer, breast cancer. That's one of the things that they say before YouTube want to say spread misinformation and all of that. There's studies. It can be backed up. So it's not just opinion. Then you look at the various lotions and creams that we put on our bodies.
Yeah.
And the chemicals that are in that. And your skin is the largest organ in your body. It absorbs those chemicals, and every one of the trillions of cells in your body is affected. So you could laugh at that Ghanaian that's using shea butter, but the Ghanaian is not putting sodium lauryl sulfate and parabens and methyl parabens and all that other kind of stuff that we don't need on their bodies. So yeah, again, it just comes back to that whole idea of control. Either you let them control you or you control yourself.
I just basically, again, in short of what we just saying, are they doing a good job? If you're going to be led somewhere, are they doing a good job in leading you? Do they have your best interests at heart? And both of those questions, answer to those questions is no.
Right.
So you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to look outside of what you've been given in order to do something better for yourself and your family. If the way that we got Christianity right now, got us looking outside of ourselves and looking at some other things, is it working for us as a collective, as a people? Because if they believed in it, we wouldn't have the problems that we are having right today. Come on, you mentioned the slave castles. They had church right above the dungeons. Church above the dungeons. You think the Creator would sit up here and be okay with that? How you treat somebody?
Yeah.
So it's If they believed in it, we wouldn't have these problems right now. So there's something else for us out there. We got to be smart enough to know that what we have now is not working for us, and be open to do some research and listening to what else is out there. Because all our great leaders, timing is everything. Timing is everything. And it could be, it's a sad commentary with folks like Dick Gregory and King and Garvey and all that. They didn't get a chance to see their stuff and come to fruition. You see, but it's the timing. But what was their role? What was their job? To keep the torch lit until the proper time. Until the proper time. And I think we're actually entering into that proper time, where the information was kept alive, and until we come back, the pendulum is swinging the other way. When our ancestors talked about illumination coming back to the planet, people's information highway, like I said in Isaiah 19:19, talked about there was going to be a highway out of Egypt, coming out of Egypt, information coming out of Egypt. That's going to, indoctrinate the world. You see, so we got to stay tuned.
Yes, yes. Well, I think we've had a fruitful conversation today, brother.
Yeah.
And I just want to close with a few things. One about the solstice, and I think one of our viewers chimed in and said that he had his oranges. Let's see, who was that? He said he had his oranges. I guess he's ready to go. What Dr. Brown has suggested to us is that we take these 4 days that comprise the winter solstice and use them for our benefit. So now's the time to tune into yourself, as we've been talking about. Tune into yourself, meditate as much as you can in these next 4 days. And as much as you can, try to, stay distant from social media and all of that. I have just a couple of posts that I want to get out there before I take my break. But this is a time for introspection. It's also a time for fasting. So what he has suggested is that you get some organic navel oranges if you can find them. I know it's a challenge for me. I couldn't find the navel, so I just had to get some organic juicing oranges. But you take the oranges, you blend it with water and cayenne pepper, and that's the beverage of choice for the next 4 days. One of the benefits of fasting, particularly when you do it for more than 48 hours, is that your body goes into a state of autophagy, and it gives the cells, each cell, an opportunity to excuse the junk, excuse the toxins, and repair. So this is a reparative process. It's like your reparations. You can choose to pay yourself reparations by fasting for the 4 days. So it's difficult. I'm not going to lie. I've done it several times, and believe it or not, I can look forward to it because I'm giving my body a chance to take a break from the digestive process. And when you're not digesting, then your body is repairing itself. So the fasting, the meditation, and just basically thinking about things that you can do to improve, the intention setting, look forward to the year to come. Think about the things that you want to accomplish. And, this is all in tune with the cycles of nature. So in the spring, it's a time where you are entering into activity. So this is the time to start working out, getting your body together, and doing all of this for the entire year. Because again, we're tying ourselves to how nature works, the energy of each season. When we go into the winter months, we're consuming root vegetables because the energy is conducive to that plant. When the spring comes, then we're going to start doing the leafy greens, things that are above ground because the energy is above ground. So these are the things that we want to be mindful of. So if you can, even if you can't do it for the 4 days, just take some time to reflect on what you've done and reflect on what you want to do. And don't wait till January 1st. This time of the solstice is the time when our subconscious is most receptive to the suggestions that we make. And everything that we do comes from our subconscious mind. So that's what I wanted to share with you about the solstice. I also wanted to reiterate the Kwanzaa activities that are coming up. I want to send a shout out to our brother Paul Hill, who, along with Doris and a few other people, founded the Greater Cleveland Kwanzaa Alliance and have been largely responsible for a lot of the Kwanzaa activity that takes place. And they've been doing it for 40 years. There have been times when, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Brother Hamptonio, because you've been around since 1984 and have been a part of many of the celebrations that have occurred. But we used to have hundreds and hundreds of people celebrating Kwanzaa, but we've been through pandemics and all other kinds of things, and so we're not as tuned in as we should be or as we could be, but that can change. So I'm going to give you the schedule here, and let me see if I can put it on the screen so that you can see it. Just give me just a second here. I will pull it up and you'll be able to see it yourself. Here we go. On Thursday, the 26th, the Greater Cleveland Kwanzaa Alliance and the Kwanzaa Global East Cleveland Public Library, or the Kwanzaa Global, I'm sorry, will be commemorating the Kwanzaa program on December 26th. There won't be any vendors at this. And then there's also the McMillan and Extended Family Kwanzaa that will be at the Forest Hill Church on Monticello. On Friday, the 27th, the Cleveland Association of Black Storytellers and the Black Social Workers will be celebrating at Unwin Road. It looks like it is 2366 Unwin Road. I think that's not East End. It is, what's that place?
It might be
It's the
friendly
settlement inn. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. On Saturday at Olivet Institutional Baptist Church on Quincy Avenue, the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa are also going to do a Kwanzaa celebration there. So there are two that are going to happen on Saturday. And then there's also another one that I'm going to be a part of that's in Lakewood, and I can post that information to the 360 Info Network Facebook page as I get that flyer and post it for you. Sunday.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's what.
Yeah. On Sunday, the 29th at Mount Zion Congregational Church. And you can go there. And again, I'll post this poster on the 360 Info Network Facebook page so you can see it for yourselves. On Monday, the 30th, you got the Golden Ciphers and the Natural Rites of Passage Institute, and they will be at 4450 Cedar Avenue. I think that's the Phyllis Wheatley Association building over there on Cedar. On the 31st, I will be assisting in the Kuumba celebration at Kings and Queens of Art, and that's 1385 East 34th Street. It's right there between Superior and St. Clair. It's a one-way street that you have to enter from St. Clair. And then on Wednesday, January 1st, Imani will be commemorated at the African American Museum at 1765 Crawford Road in Cleveland. And I think that one starts, it looks like 3 p.m. So there you have it. Kwanzaa is in full effect beginning on the 26th. And also one last mention of Kwanzaa Light of the Kinara at Cleveland Public Theater. I'm telling you, I mean, I was witness to it 2 nights in a row. It is a magnificent performance. It will make you feel good about having African ancestry. as part of who you are. So I would highly encourage you to attend that if you can. I think there's also going to be another performance tomorrow at 3 p.m. I think tonight's performance starts at 7:30 p.m. at Cleveland Public Theater. So there you have it, Kwanzaa here in the Cleveland area. And also just realize that we're blessed to have an organization that encourages us to do this. There are other cities, they don't know anything about Kwanzaa. They don't do Kwanzaa. I was having a conversation with my mother earlier in the week, and she was telling me how once upon a time they had Kwanzaa commemorations in Chillicothe, which is a small town south of Columbus where my folks are from. And there were actually outsiders who came to Chillicothe and they started doing Kwanzaa, but they're not there anymore. So there's no Kwanzaa.
Mm-hmm.
So you being here in Cleveland, you have the benefit of being able to come to these celebrations. Let's celebrate. You observe the solstice, and after you come out of your introspection and come and be with your people, celebrate who we are and recommit yourself to being who and what you are, living in your purpose, carrying out Ubuntu so that we can all thrive and we can all prosper. Any last words, my brother?
Just a couple of announcements real quick from my good brother Robin Allen. He sent something about a toy. If you're into, toy giveaways, Christmas or whatever, toys and coats for kids, from Project Warm. Okay, that's from 1 to 4 today. First come, first serve. That's the day, the 21st. That's at Mount Gilead Missionary Baptist Church. That's at 7025 Cedar Avenue, 1 to 4 today. Toys and coats. So they'll be there as long as long as they have the supplies. You must bring your child or have proof of guardianship, Social Security, birth certificate, blah blah blah. The Colony Collective Inc. They're presenting a toy giveaway. It's today as well, and it's from 10 until supplies last. That's at 120 905. Is it Show Road? I want to say, I believe that's Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
Should be Shaw because that's 44108. I don't know if a street around there called Show. It might be Shaw, I believe. 12905. Okay. For a local toy giveaway. So just a couple of events that's out there. Don't get mad if you missed I remember a situation to where somebody I knew was upset because they didn't have Black Eyed Peas for the new year, so they was upset. But so, hey, go for our Bible folks. You should know in Exodus they talked about the beginning of the year, and it's in spring, in March. When you have late March, beginning of April, the month of Abib. You will see it in Exodus. Okay, when he said this will be the beginning of months for you. That's it. When you pass that, when you have that spring equinox, okay, that's the beginning. So don't get all upset and get all into it. So take time a little bit right now to meditate all the way up into that, because it's about living in harmony with the cosmos and the planet and things. All of that has an effect on the planet, y'all, because it's all about energy. And our ancestors knew this.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to sign off for right now. But before we do, we've got about 15 folks who are watching us on various channels. We highly encourage you to subscribe to our channels. It doesn't cost you anything. All you got to do when you see the broadcast on YouTube, in the bottom right corner, there's a subscribe button. Just click on that button and you will subscribe to our channel and provide benefit to those of us who are pushing this content forward. And also, you can get notifications as to when we put this content out there. So again, we really appreciate your support, and we really appreciate you being with us on this broadcast. We go through a lot to bring the folks that we bring to you. I tip my hat to Brother Hamptonio because he has connected us with some of the greatest scholars on the planet. The Anthony Browders, the Professor Smalls, the Charles Finches, the Ashra Kwazis, all of them who have studied all that they have have all the knowledge and wisdom that they share with us. And you get it for free on this channel. For free. You don't have to pay. You could go to universities to learn the things that you were learning when you watch this program and you've taken this broadcast via radio. So we need your support. We would appreciate the support. So if you can subscribe to our channel, it doesn't take anything to do that. And also, we just want to look forward to the year to come. I know we are going to be navigating some real challenges, but look, we don't operate out of fear. It's time to let that go. The fear is being used to keep us in a place of submission. But when we wake up to who we really are, we have no reason to be afraid. We can exist, like they say in the hood, we can stand on our business. Let's stand on our business. All right. All right. So with that, as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.
Peace.